For the most part, Wi-Fi security is pretty much standardized. Wi-Fi clients and access points since 2004 have got to use some really advanced security techniques in order to secure their network. Now, the most important thing now is management. So managing that security is very important. The authentication, encryption, user authentication, and wireless LAN access control options. So you can see this is the same piece of a screenshot, just selected with different options. For example, your wireless LAN authentication options. Open, which means no security. Authentication such as shared, which is old school WEP, wired equivalent privacy. 802.1x EAP, which is very good security, but you find could be very difficult to implement. And MAC address security. I don't really recommend MAC address security. It can be defeated very, very easily. So there are a lot of much better options when it comes to security, so I'll try to steer you away from doing the MAC-based. On the encryption side, WPA2, WPA, and WPA mixed with TKIP, AES, or automatic. Now there are some problems with using TKIP. TKIP actually is something that they're trying to phase out, that both the IEEE and the Wi-Fi Alliance are phasing out. So if at all possible, if your clients are all pretty modern, maybe within the last 5 years, you'll find that they should support AES. My recommendation is always select whatever security you're going to run, say a WPA or WPA2. So open, WPA2 with AES would be a really good place to start. Then check to see if your devices connect or not. If they don't, maybe you have to step down to TKIP or a mixed scenario. But always start with AES. It's the most secure and provides for the best performance. TKIP slows things down actually quite a lot. Other authentication options, such as a captive portal. A captive portal does not provide for encryption or any real high level of security. You're not going to want to secure your corporate wireless LAN with a captive portal. The previous slide you saw, that's where you secure your corporate wireless LAN. But when it comes to securing for guest access or maybe contractor access, this is what you want to do. They can access through username and password, or maybe a guest pass that you have issued to them, and it may have some kind of time restriction on it. Maybe it's good for a day. The other is a hotspot service called Whisper. Whisper hotspot service does authenticate a bit like a mix. It'll authenticate against a radius server, but it is still more of a hotspot style service as opposed to corporate authentication. Wireless LAN access control options. Layer 2 MAC addressed based control policies. That's a list of MAC addresses that you will allow or deny. Again, do not recommend this. Again, it's in there, it's simple, but in very, very many clients, you can spoof a MAC address. So with basically free tools, we can scan, find a good MAC address, and then type it in to a laptop, and they're connected. So I do recommend against using MAC-based security only. Layer 3, Layer 4, this is actually like it's an access control list, which will say, here's the IP addresses or even subnets that can or cannot be accessed on that network. Intrusion prevention, if someone tries to keep connecting over and over and over again, and basically like if they're trying to crack a code, then it will actually do intrusion prevention and actually stop them from implementing or giving any more credentials, even if they're correct. The AP won't even listen to them for a short period of time. This is to prevent cracking programs that are just going to run over and over and over again continuously until they crack it. It's to prevent them from running. Wireless client isolation is a really important piece. I was once at a hotel in Toronto. I opened my music store, iTunes, and I saw Britney's music. I don't know who Britney was, but her music showed up on my laptop. The reason is they were not implementing any type of wired security like VLANing, and they also weren't doing wireless client isolation. So if Britney was 3 rooms down and we're both connected to the same access point, what happens is that it will allow these two devices to communicate. You do not want that in any type of public environment, and actually you don't want that in a lot of corporate environments. By selecting one checkbox, you can turn it off, where no communication is allowed to occur from a wireless device to a wireless device on your network. In addition, there's another option with wireless client isolation. It's kind of like 2 levels of isolation, where if you check that box, it actually gives you an added level of security where they can't, not only can they not communicate between 2 devices on the wireless network, but they are only allowed to talk to devices like the default gateway. So they can only communicate back on that network. They cannot communicate with any other device in that IP range. It's like a self-built-in ACL that you don't have to manage. And the last is rate limiting. You don't want your guests to be taking up all of your throughput. Or if they're the only thing on, say you're in hospitality and the only thing running is guest network, you don't want one guest overrunning the Wi-Fi network while others would suffer. So you can simply and easily rate limit with 2 drop-down boxes, rate limit for downlink and uplink traffic very easily. So these are the simple options that you get for giving you different types of access, managing the security of your wireless network, both access and encryption. They're very, very strong, but they're also very, very easy to implement.